Well, today we are really happy. We from ChinaDaily.com happy to meet with Mr. Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. But for years, he's also been a great advocate for low carbon development. And just last year, you came to China to promote low carbon corporate action and also a Million Forest campaign.
Yeah.
So this time you are here to promote China Redesign. So what promotes you? What prompts you to promote this program and why it is important?
Basically, we need to act to protect our environment. Mm-hmm. China is the world's great industrializing economy. If China is able to have growth that is green, mm-hmm. So that its people get prosperity, but in a way that protects the environment for the future, then the world's a better place. So this is all about China and all about technology as well, and spreading best practice. So the purpose of China Redesign is to ensure that we take the best practice and show how it can be implemented. Because my great belief is that you mustn't try to force people to choose between growth and the environment. Mm-hmm. Actually, this can be a win-win if we promote the best technology and implement the best practice.
But China has just adopted this 12 5-year plan. So how do you evaluate the plan and also its binding target for energy efficiency and environment protection?
China's 5-year plan is very ambitious. It's there are cuts in energy intensity, cuts in carbon intensity, which are big, but also, China aims to get by 2020 15% of its energy from non-traditional sources, mm-hmm. non-fossil sources. This is a big change, and these are very ambitious targets, and we should be doing everything we can to help in promoting best practice, in sharing the technology. And so I'm very interested also in making sure that the best global technologies in this field of green growth are then deployed and used in China.
What challenges are you aware that China faces in really meeting the targets?
The biggest challenge is that China's growth and industrialization is on a scale the world has never seen before. It's immense. And China's people need that because, you can come to Beijing and Shanghai, but that's not the same as China, or whole mm-hmm. of China, right? Yeah. So you've still got a lot of people living in poverty, a lot of rural subsistence farming. So industrialization is important, mm-hmm. urbanization is important, but the scale of that is such that you're bound to have a big challenge because we're asking China now to develop sustainably when countries like mine developed without really regard to the environment. Uh-huh. So this is why I think there's a great responsibility and obligation on us both to understand why this is such a big challenge for China, but also to understand why it's important we help in that.
Well, I've been to Copenhagen Climate Change Conference, and I've also been to the Hanqing Climate Change Conference.
Yeah.
And I still feel that we need to identify what the developed nations and developing countries must do to slow down climate change.
Well, I honestly believe that you need a framework that encourages the drive for green solutions. Mm-hmm. So that's why you need these frameworks internationally and locally. But the key is technology. We won't solve this problem unless we develop the transformative technologies of the future.
But there have been a lot of talks in developing nations say, industrialized nations have put a lot of tabs on transferring technology. to developing countries. And
Yeah.
so how do we change the attitude?
Right, I think the way we change it is to say China's industrialization is going to happen. If it is to happen sustainably, we need these new technologies, and we should share the technology. And I think actually China is a great place to deploy new technology, and to develop it. So, in the end, I think whatever governments are doing or not doing, I think what is important for us is to try and make sure that we create the mechanisms for, and the platforms for developing the new technologies and deploying them here. And these technologies, around the world, they are beginning. Now, I also think the Western countries, at least some of them, understand that, if we kind of hoard this technology, it's not very sensible. So, I think it's important we build pressure for the sharing of the technology.
Well, at the end of this year, there will be Durban Climate Change Conference, and this conference will be crucial because next year should be the start of, at the end of next year, the first phase of Kyoto Protocol will end, and then there should be a start of the second commitment period.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have hopes for something tangible to come out from Durban Climate Change Conference. So what do you think of the goals for the conference at the end of the year?
I think that Copenhagen obviously was difficult. Cancun was a step forward again.
Yeah.
I think the key thing about Durban is to make it practical. I mean, what I've been saying to people all the way along is don't ask political leaders to do something they just can't do. So, we have a phrase in English which is about not making the best the enemy of the good. Right? In other words,
can you elaborate? Yeah.
Yeah, you do the best. You don't aim for perfection and fail. You rather do what is good. Right? Doesn't have to be perfect, but do what is good. So my attitude is get the best agreement we can, not the best agreement we might want, in theory. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if you take the commitments that people are making already and you put them together, you get specific programs in areas like deforestation, sharing of technology, mitigation, and so on. You can get this thing moving, but don't. This idea of obsessing about the exact percentage at the exact date. There's no point in doing that. There's no point in saying to President Obama at this moment in time, with a different Congress, that's probably not very much in favor of a climate change treaty. We want you to double your commitments, because it's not going to happen. There's no point in that. China has set out the most ambitious target it can. Right? Meeting this target is going to be tough. There's no point in saying to China, we now want you to double it. It's not going to happen. So my point is, get the commitments we've made together, get the thing moving, and the thing that will do is, and this is the single most important thing, is you've got to send a message to business worldwide that the future is in green growth, that over time carbon is going to be increasingly, regulated, taxed. It's going to, so you want to transition to green growth. And if you do that, you'll find that entrepreneurs and business people and scientists start developing this technology. So you just need a clear signal. That's the important thing to get out of Durban.
So how many times have you been to China?
A lot. Someone was saying the other day, I think 12 times in the last
12
few
times.
years.
And so how do we see China changes?
That's since I left office.
Yeah.
I think China's changing in all sorts of different ways. I think it's changing economically, obviously, but also I think socially, culturally, actually politically too. I think it's evolving, which is sensible.
Its implication on climate change.
Well, I think, look, for Chinese people, they they want, you know, they know if they're living in cities, the problems of the environment, the problems of pollution. So people want a green future, but that's got to be a green future with growth, because they need the growth for the jobs, for the better life and prosperity. So, you know, I think that China's attitude on this whole issue is now, in the last few years, has moved from a position of, you know, a lot of hostility towards the concept of international agreements to a very strong leadership role, actually. I mean, China, I think in Cancun was extremely constructive, played an important part in getting the agreement.
Can we sidestep a little bit,
Yeah.
talking about the Middle East turmoil? What do you think the effect of the Middle East turmoil will have on the energy supply in the world?
I think what the Middle East turmoil will do is emphasize to all nations dependent on energy supply from the Middle East that they should think carefully about energy security. And so I think you will find you know, a desire to have a diversified energy supply. That's where what I think the impact on energy will be.
But then the nuclear fallout
Yeah.
in Japan
Absolutely.
have another
Yeah.
side effect on.
Yeah. If it weren't for Japan, then I think there would also have been a big push towards nuclear energy.
Yeah.
I think Japan will make people hesitate, or at least pause, in order to analyze what it all means and what the impact is. Personally, I believe it's important that we do analyze and that we don't just react instantly. So let's analyze what it means, because I still think nuclear power is important for the future. Nuclear power as a technology also can develop. So, you know, I like to keep a kind of open mind on this. So, because otherwise I think the danger is something like Japan happens,
Yeah.
we overreact, and then we shut off our options for the future. I don't think that's sensible.
So even with all the energy supply is difficult, and the rising of the oil prices, and then there's the nuclear fallout. So what do you think the world should react to all this? Yeah.
Well, I think all of these things mean that there's going to be a search for new technologies. You know, that's if you can get technologies that don't change incrementally but transform the energy picture. Supposing, you know, Vinod Khosla was there talking about, you know, 75% reductions in you know, energy usage for lighting or for air conditioning. If you can talk about 50% improvements on diesel engines, you know, those are transformative technologies. You know, there are a whole series of things now happening in the technology sphere, and I think that's where and I think that we've got to keep an open mind. I mean, solar and wind will be important, but they're not the only technologies.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.